Dr. Bruce is no stranger to the Business Symposium. He agreed, and I certainly appreciate his hearty agreement to come to our first Business Symposium when none of us knew, especially with 6 inches of snow last February, how it was going to go. So that was great that he agreed to do that. And he's back again for the third one today. He is head of the Transformational Leadership Group. I mentioned his Naval Academy grad. I'm going to save the most important part to last. He's also VP of PNC and the foundation work that they do. He does a lot of pulpit filling. I was recently just at our church down in Wheeling, and he does some Bible studies, including the Brave Men, of about 100 guys that get together at 6:30 in the morning every Friday up at Christ Church Grove Farm at the barn, and also Bible study noon Thursday downtown at First Presbyterian. But the most important part, he was born and raised in Fairmont, West Virginia. Got to take my chances to plug my state when I get to. Anyway, please give a good Business Symposium welcome to Dr. Bruce Bickel.
Well, thank you, Mike. I trust you can all hear me. We had to move my little netbook computer over here because we didn't have a line long enough to go over here, so I trust that you can see and hear everything okay. Before I get started, I do want to make one announcement that John Stallward asked me to mention. There were 2 people who were listed on his panel, David Allman and Darren Grove, who had emergency situations which they could not come today. David's child is in the hospital of children, and Darren had a meeting he had to go out of town. And so I just wanted you to know that you saw their names, but they were not here, and it was because of extenuating circumstances. So we do thank David and Darren, and our prayers will be certainly with them. Well, it's nice to be with you all again. I trust in the moments that we have that we can sort of wrap this up, our Business Symposium. My great compliments and appreciation and admiration to WORD for sponsoring this. They do a wonderful service, not only in our community by the programs they air on their station, but also in such activities as this they bring to the community. So I commend all of you at WORD. Mike, you and your staff, thank you very much. We're most grateful. When we talk about leadership, we need to understand a definition of leadership is simply this. Leadership is influencing the behavior of people. You can take 2 little boys, put them in a sandbox. One little boy will pick up a plastic shovel and hit the other little boy on the head. Boy number 2 runs away, and what do you have? You have leadership. Now, granted, it's not good leadership, but that little boy A did influence the behavior of little boy B. So leadership in its basic element is nothing more than just influencing the behavior of people. And one of the reasons that Serving Leader and the Pittsburgh Leadership Foundation and my group, Transformational Leadership Group, are so interested in bringing these type of principles into the workplace is because of the potential influence that you will have on people with whom you come in contact. You are the leaders of the next generation. I realize that I'm a relic, I'm over the hill, and I'm trying to spend my last few years giving away to somebody else what the Lord has given me so we can reproduce this and keep it going. So you are the leaders of the future because you will be the ones who will influence the behavior of people. So I want to talk today about character. We need to understand the difference between temperament, personality, and character. Temperament would be the natural inclinations with which we are born. As women, you have certain natural inclinations, part of your DNA. As men, we have certain inclinations that are part of our DNA. You don't lead temperament. You don't manage temperament. Personality would be the expression of one's temperament. You don't lead temperament. You don't lead personality. You don't manage temperament. You don't manage personality. Character would be the quality of one's personality. The only thing that one can do as a leader is influence, rebuild, remold, or reshape a person's character. You cannot rebuild, remold, reshape their temperament nor their personality. Oftentimes in counseling situations with leaders, they say, I'm so frustrated because I have a strong-willed employee and a weak-willed employee, and I don't know how to manage them. I said, forget their temperament, forget their personality. The issue is their character. You can have a strong-willed employee and a weak-willed employee, and both can be on time. What's the commonality? It's punctuality. That's a character quality. It's just the same thing in our homes. You can have a strong-willed child and a weak-willed child, and both can be respectful. Now, granted, it may take more time to teach the one child to be respectful than the other, but the commonality between the two children is not their temperament. It is not their personality. It's their character. That's the one thing that we as Christian leaders can do. We can influence the character of the people with whom we lead and the people with whom we manage. And the reason character is so important is because thoughts become your words, words become your actions, actions become your habits, habits become your character, and character becomes your destiny. You see, it all starts with how you think. And what we're trying to do with Pittsburgh servant leaders is to begin to help you think differently about who you are, where you are, so that in your ministry of influencing the behavior of people, you're actually going to be reshaping them, because you're going to be transforming their personhood, you're going to be transforming their organization, and as a result, hopefully we will be transforming our culture. So the real issue is our character. Now, as Mike mentioned, I did grow up in Fairmont, West Virginia. And for me, the big event was always to come to Pittsburgh. I would put on my shoes, come out of the hills, and go to town. I would go to Pittsburgh. And the big rite of transfer, the rite of passage for me as a 12-year-old lad, was my dad brought me to the South Hills Shopping Center, the South Hills Mall, the Kaufmann's, and bought me a blue suit. Because he said every man needs to have a blue suit. And so at 12 years old, my rite of passage from adolescence into manhood was the wearing of a blue suit. And I loved that suit so much I wanted to wear it to school, and Dad said, "No, Bruce, you save it for church." And on the way back from South Hills when I was 12 years old, I asked my dad, I said, "Dad, does a blue suit make me a man?" And he said, "No, your character will make you a man." I said, "What is it that people will recognize that I'm a man?" And I'm 12 years old talking to my dad driving back on Route 19. And he said, "Bruce, it's the character that's inside the blue suit that makes the blue suit attractive. And if you don't have the right character inwardly, then the blue suit you wear will not be attractive." And I said, "Well, Dad, what's the character of a man?" And he said, "It's this: no griping, no complaining, and no blaming. You don't gripe, you don't complain, and you don't blame. Bruce, when you have that character, your blue suit will be attractive." I was raised in a family by a father who really taught me the significance of having character-based leadership qualities. My dad was the chief federal probation officer for the state of West Virginia. Worked with hardcore criminals and offenders. The last 5 years of my dad's life were very difficult for me because he had severe Alzheimer's. The last 5 years he did not know who I was. And as we had him in a retirement center here in Pittsburgh, I used to visit him 2 or 3 times a week. The last 3 or 4 years were difficult because Dad did not know me. But one day he said this: "You're a nice young man, and I like your character." Now for me, that was the affirmation that I could let my dad go. And shortly after that, the Lord was pleased to take him home. You see, the issue in our leadership is, why is it somebody would choose to follow you and me? There is no leadership unless there's followership. Somebody has to be following if somebody's going to be the leader. The question is, if you are going to be influencing the behavior of the people with whom you lead or manage, why is it they would choose to or want to even follow you? The morale of an organization is based upon 3 things: the leader's vision, the leader's character, and the leader's example. That's why people will follow. Because of your vision. How well you communicate that. Do you live the values of your vision? Do you have the character that someone will want to choose to follow you because of the way that you're influencing their behavior? And thirdly, what's the example that you are living before them? You see, a leader not only speaks the values, he lives out the vision. And he speaks the vision and lives out the values. So I want to give you today a portrait of a character-based leader. Now to do that, I want to show you, by contrast, a recent study that was conducted by a large business institution And this is the summary of what they said are the requirements to be a strong natural leader.